I never thought the man I married would become my greatest enemy. But that morning, as I sat in our pristine kitchen sipping coffee from bone china that cost more than most people's monthly rent, I realized I had been living with a stranger for 7 years. Marcus Richardson III had swept me off my feet when I was 28, working as a librarian in downtown Charleston. He was everything I wasn't: 20, confident, wealthy, connected to all the right families. He made me feel like Cinderella when he proposed with a ring that could have funded a small college scholarship. I thought I was the luckiest woman alive. How naive I was. Sophia, darling, Marcus said that Tuesday morning, not looking up from his Wall Street Journal. His voice had that particular tone, fun, the one he used when he was about to correct me about something. I've scheduled an appointment for you with Dr. Pemberton this afternoon. I paused, my coffee cup halfway to my lips. Dr. Pemberton, who is that? A neurologist, the best in the state. Marcus finally looked at me, his blue eyes cold as winter steel. You've been so forgetful lately, so confused. I am worried about you, sweetheart. Forgetful. Confused. I set my cup down carefully, my hand suddenly trembling. Marcus, I don't understand. I feel perfectly fine. He folded his newspaper with deliberate precision. Do you? Yesterday you couldn't remember where you put the car keys. Last week you forgot we had dinner plans with the Vanderbilts. And 2 days ago, you asked me the same question 3 times in one conversation. Each accusation hit me like a physical blow. But they were lies. All of them. I remembered everything perfectly. The keys were in the bowl by the front door where I always put them. The Vanderbilt dinner was cancelled because their daughter had the flu. And I had never repeated any question to him. Marcus, that is not. Sheesh. He reached across the table and patted my hand like I was a child. I know it is frightening, darling, but we need to face reality. Your behavior has been increasingly erratic. I stared at him, searching his face for the man I had fallen in love with. All I saw was a stranger wearing his face, speaking with his voice, but with eyes that held no warmth, no love, only calculation. That afternoon, Dr. Pemberton's office felt like a trap closing around me. The neurologist was a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses who spoke about me as if I wasn't in the room. Mrs. Richardson exhibits signs of early cognitive decline. He told Marcus while I sat there, invisible, memory lapses, confusion, difficulty with complex tasks. We'll need to run more extensive tests. But I would recommend limiting her access to financial accounts and important documents for her own protection, of course. Of course. Marcus agreed solemnly. Whatever is best for Sophia. I wanted to scream that there was nothing wrong with my mind, that this was all some horrible mistake. But something in Marcus's satisfied expression stopped me. This wasn't a mistake. This was a plan. The next 3 weeks became a carefully orchestrated campaign to prove my incompetence. Marcus would hide my phone and then ask me to call someone, looking concerned when I couldn't find it. He'd move my reading glasses, and then point out how I was struggling with simple tasks. He started having his business associates over for dinner, during which he would ask me questions he knew I didn't know the answers to. Then shake his head sadly when I couldn't respond. Poor Sophia, he'd say to his friends while I was within earshot. The doctors say it might be early onset dementia. Such a tragedy. She was so bright once. I began to doubt myself. Was I losing my mind? Had I really forgotten those things? But deep down, a small voice whispered that this was wrong, that Marcus was lying. I just couldn't understand why. The answer came exactly 1 month after my father's funeral. I had been grieving quietly, the way Marcus preferred 7T, with dignity and minimal display of emotion. Daddy had raised me alone after my mother died when I was 12, and his death from a heart attack at 68 had left me feeling orphaned all over again. Marcus had been supportive during the funeral arrangements, handling everything with his usual efficiency. I was grateful then. I didn't realize he was positioning himself. The morning everything changed, I was in Daddy's old study, packing up his books. Marcus had insisted we clear out the house quickly when. No point in dwelling on the past, darling Sophie. But I needed these final moments with my father's memory. I was reaching for a thick volume of Shakespeare when my fingers brushed against something taped to the back of the bookshelf. It was a large manila envelope, with my name written across it, in Daddy's careful handwriting. For Sophia Fifth. Open only in emergency. Inside was a letter that would change my life forever. My dearest daughter, it began in Daddy's familiar script. If you are reading this, it means something has gone wrong. I pray you never have to open this envelope, but I learned long ago that hope is not a strategy when it comes to protecting the people we love. I never trusted Marcus. Sophia, I know this will hurt you to read, but I have had him investigated. He married you for your inheritance. The private investigator's report is in this envelope, along with documentation of his gambling debts and his affair with his secretary Rebecca Chen. But more importantly, I have taken steps to protect you. The will that was read at my funeral is not my real will. That was a decoy. My attorney, Harrison Mills 7, who Marcus doesn't know exists, has my true will. In it, I have left you everything, but with conditions that will only activate if you are ever in danger, or if someone tries to declare you incompetent. The trust I've established cannot be touched by any husband, and it includes provisions that will destroy anyone who tries to harm you. Harrison has been watching and waiting. If you are reading this, call him immediately. The number is below. I love you, my darling girl. Your mother would be so proud of the woman you've become. Don't let anyone make you small. All my love, Daddy Psava. The real inheritance includes the Richardson property that Marcus thinks belongs to his family. I bought it from them years ago when they were facing bankruptcy. Marcus has been living in a house that will belong to you. I thought you should know. My hands shook so violently, I could barely hold the papers. The room spun around me as I absorbed the magnitude of what I had just discovered. Marcus's family estate the grand mansion where we lived. The one he was so proud of. The symbol of his old money status Stefan Thuz. Belonged to me. Had belonged to me for years. And Marcus knew none of it. I called Harrison Mills with trembling fingers. He answered on the first ring, as if he had been waiting for this call for weeks. Miss Sophia, his voice was warm but urgent. I was wondering when you'd find your father's letter. We need to immediately, and whatever you do, don't let your husband know you've contacted me. Can you meet me at my office in 1 hour? Harrison Mills looked nothing like the corporate attorneys Marcus used. He was a small black man in his 60s, with kind eyes and a grandfather's gentle manner. But when he spoke about my situation, his voice carried the authority of someone who had been preparing for war. Your father was a brilliant man, Sophia. He saw through Marcus's charm from the beginning. We've been building a case against your husband for 3 years. He opened a thick file that made my stomach clench. Photos of Marcus with Rebecca Chen in compromising situations. Financial records showing massive gambling debts hidden from me. Documentation of the neurologist visits that had been arranged and paid for by Marcus before he ever brought me in. Dr. Pemberton isn't a neurologist, Sophia. He is a psychiatrist Marcus found who was willing to provide false testimony for the right price. We have recordings of their conversations. Recordings. Harrison smiled grimly. Your father had Marcus followed. We have evidence of everything pending the affair, the financial manipulation, the fake medical consultations. Marcus has been planning to have you declared mentally incompetent so he can control your inheritance. The plan was to get power of attorney over your affairs, then commit you to a private facility while he and Miss Chen enjoyed your money. I felt sick. The man I had shared a bed with. The man I had cooked for and cared for. The man I had loved completely. Had been planning to steal everything from me and lock me away. What do? I whispered. We wait for him to make his move, and when he does, we destroy him. I didn't have to wait long. The very next morning, Marcus presented me with papers over breakfast. Darling, I've been talking with the doctors, and they think it would be best if I handled our finances going forward. Just temporarily until you are feeling better. His voice was syrup, sweet, but his eyes were predatory. I just need you to sign these power of attorney documents. I looked down at the papers, my heart pounding. This was it. The moment Harrison had prepared me for. Of course, Marcus, I said softly, picking up the pen. I trust you completely. His smile was triumphant as I signed my name. He had no idea I was signing his death warrant. The next phase of Harrison's plan required me to become an actress. For 2 weeks, I played the role of the increasingly confused wife. I forgot appointments, misplaced important items, and acted appropriately bewildered when Marcus would point out my mistakes. All the while, I was secretly working with Harrison to document every lie, every manipulation. We had installed hidden cameras in the house, completely legal since it was my property. Though Marcus didn't know that yet, we recorded him coaching Rebecca Chen on how to testify about my erratic behavior. We caught him on camera moving my belongings and then finding them in strange places. We documented his calls to a private psychiatric facility, arranging for my temporary stay. She is completely under control now, he told the facility director, not knowing we were recording. The power of attorney is in place, and she'll sign whatever I put in front of her. We should be able to have her committed within the month. Every word was another nail in his coffin. The final act began on a gray Thursday morning when Marcus announced we were going to meet with our attorney to update some estate planning documents. It is just a formality, darling, he said, straightening his tie in the hallway mirror. Harrison has prepared everything. You just need to sign where he tells you. I almost smiled. Marcus had no idea that Harrison Mills was my attorney, not his. We drove to Harrison's office building in Marcus's BMW, him humming contentedly while I sat in silence, my hands folded in my lap like the obedient, confused wife he thought I was. He was so confident, so sure of his victory, that he didn't notice the extra cars in the parking garage, or the men in suits waiting near the elevators. Harrison's office looked different than it had during our secret meetings. Today it was set up like a courtroom, with a court reporter, several attorneys I didn't recognize, and a man Harrison introduced as Detective Morrison, from the Charleston Police Department. Marcus's confident expression faltered for the first time. What is all this? He asked, his voice tight. I thought we were here for estate planning. Oh, we are, Harrison said smoothly. Please, have a seat, Mr. Richardson, Mrs. Richardson, you can sit here. He indicated a chair at the head of the table, not beside Marcus as usual, but in the power position. For the first time in years, I didn't sit where Marcus expected me to. There seems to be some confusion, Marcus said, still standing, his face beginning to flush. I don't understand what is happening here. Please sit down, Mr. Richardson. Detective Morrison said firmly. We have some questions for you. That is when I spoke for the first time since we'd left the house. My voice was clear, strong, and completely sane. Marcus, I said, looking him directly in the eyes, I think it is time you knew the truth. Harrison opened his file and began laying out photographs on the table. Marcus with Rebecca Chen, Marcus meeting with the fake Dr. Pemberton, Marcus visiting the psychiatric facility. We have evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud, elder abuse, attempted theft, and conspiracy to commit false imprisonment, Harrison said in his calm professional voice. We have recordings of you planning to have your wife committed to steal her inheritance. We have documentation of your affair and your financial crimes. Marcus's face had gone white. This is impossible. Sophia couldn't have. She is not capable of. Of what? Marcus? I stood up slowly, feeling power flow through me for the first time in years, of thinking, of planning, of fighting back. You are sick, he whispered, the doctors said. Dr. Pemberton isn't a neurologist, Marcus. He is a psychiatrist you paid to lie about my mental state. We have the financial records of your payments to him. Harrison pulled out another document. This is the real will of Sophia's father, Mr. Richardson. Would you like to know what it says? Marcus was shaking now, sweat beaded on his forehead, despite the air conditioning. It says that Sophia inherits everything, Faye, including the house you've been living in, the house you thought belonged to your family. Sophia's father bought it from your bankrupt family 7 years ago. You've been living in your wife's house, eating her food, spending her money, while planning to steal everything from her. The sound Marcus made was barely human. It was the sound of a man watching his entire world crumble. But here is the most interesting part, I said, enjoying the moment more than I probably should have. The will includes a special provision. If anyone tries to harm me or declare me incompetent, they forfeit any claim to any part of the inheritance. Instead, that person becomes liable for damages. Detective Morrison stepped forward. Marcus Richardson, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted theft, and conspiracy to commit false imprisonment. As they read him his rights, Marcus looked at me with something between rage and disbelief. You planned this. You pretended to be weak. I finished. Helpless. Confused. Yes, Marcus. I acted exactly like the woman you wanted me to be. Turns out I am a much better actress than you thought. Rebecca Chen was arrested at the real estate office where she worked. The fake Dr. Pemberton lost his license and faced criminal charges. Marcus's business associates, who had been so sympathetic about his poor, confused wife, suddenly found themselves very busy whenever he called from jail. The divorce was finalized within 3 months. Marcus, facing serious criminal charges and with no assets to his name, signed whatever Harrison put in front of him. I kept everything, Faye, the house, the investments, the properties I never even knew existed. Marcus got exactly what he had planned to give me, nothing. 6 months later, I was standing in the garden of my house, Faye, watching the sun set over the marsh. I had cut my hair short and hired a decorator to remove every trace of Marcus's presence. The house felt like mine now, warm and welcoming instead of cold and sterile. Harrison joined me on the porch with 2 glasses of sweet tea. Any word from Marcus? He asked. He wrote from prison, I said, asking for forgiveness, claiming he really loved me and just made some bad choices. What did you do with the letter? I smiled. I sent it to Rebecca Chen. I thought she might find it interesting, since she is facing her own charges for fraud. I hear they're not exactly supporting each other through this difficult time. Harrison chuckled. Your father would be proud of you, you know, not just for fighting back, but for how you handled it. You could have destroyed Marcus completely, but you chose justice over revenge. I thought about that. It was true. I could have ruined Marcus in ways that went far beyond the law. I had evidence of affairs his business partners didn't know about, financial improprieties that could have implicated others, family secrets that would have destroyed his social standing even more thoroughly, but I had chosen to let the law handle it cleanly. Daddy taught me that the best revenge is living well, I said. Besides, Marcus destroyed himself. I just helped him along. A year later, I ran into one of Marcus's old business associates at a charity gala. He didn't recognize me at first, Faye. I looked so different with my new haircut, my confident posture, my genuine smile. When he realized who I was, he seemed uncomfortable. Sophia, we all had no idea what Marcus was doing. We thought you were sick, I suggested pleasantly, confused. Incompetent? He flushed. We were just going by what he told us. If we had known. You would have done what? I asked. None of you ever spoke to me directly. None of you asked how I was feeling, or if I needed help. You just accepted his version of events because it was easier than actually caring about someone you saw as an accessory to his success. He had no answer for that, because there was no answer. They had all been complicit in their indifference, but I wasn't angry anymore. These people didn't matter. Their opinion had never mattered. I had spent so many years trying to fit into Marcus's world, trying to be the perfect wife he wanted me to be, that I had forgotten who I really was. No, I knew. I established a foundation to help women escape financial abuse. Something I learned was far more common than I had ever imagined. I used my father's money, my money, to fund legal aid for women whose husbands were trying to control them through finances. Harrison became the foundation's chief legal counsel. The first woman we helped was named Maria. Her husband had taken all her credit cards, closed her bank accounts, and told everyone she was too emotional to handle money. With our help, she discovered he had been stealing from her grandmother's estate. Sound familiar? Men like Marcus aren't unique. They're everywhere, using the same playbook, counting on women being too afraid, too isolated, or too convinced of their own helplessness to fight back. The foundation has helped over 200 women in 3 years. Each case reminds me why Daddy's lesson was so important. Preparation isn't paranoia, it is protection. I never married again, not because I am afraid of love, but because I learned something valuable. I don't need someone else to complete me. I am whole on my own. If love comes again, it will be because someone adds joy to an already full life, not because they provide what I lack. Marcus was released from prison after 18 months. I heard through Harrison that he moved to another state, where he works for a small accounting firm. His conviction prevents him from working in finance or real estate. Rebecca Chen served 8 months and now works at a call center. The fake Dr. Pemberton lost his license permanently. Sometimes people ask if I feel bad for Marcus, if I think the punishment was too harsh. The answer is always the same. Marcus destroyed his own life the moment he decided I was a target instead of a partner. I didn't ruin him, I simply refused to let him ruin me. On quiet evenings, I sit in Daddy's old study and read his books. Sometimes I hold the letter that saved my life, and remember how it felt to believe I was losing my mind. But mostly I think about how proud he would be to see what I've become. I am not the naive librarian who married a charming stranger 7 years ago. I am not the confused, helpless wife Marcus tried to create. I am Sophia Richardson Fay, no Sophia Watson. I took back my maiden name Fay and I am exactly who I choose to be. The inheritance Marcus tried to steal gave me money, property, and security. But the real inheritance my father left me was something far more valuable, the knowledge that I am stronger than anyone who tries to diminish me, smarter than anyone who underestimates me, and worthy of a life lived on my own terms. That is a legacy no one can ever take away. As I finish writing this story, I want to say something to anyone who might be reading this and seeing themselves in my situation. You are not crazy, you are not incompetent, you are not helpless. If someone is trying to convince you that you are less than you know yourself to be, trust your instincts. Document everything. Reach out for help. Fight back. The world is full of people who will try to make you small to make themselves feel big. Don't let them. You have more power than you know, more strength than they want you to realize, and more worth than they will ever possess. Take your life back. You deserve nothing less than everything you dream of. And remember, the best revenge isn't getting even. It is becoming who you were always meant to be.